Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the place you are around the world. You can see me that I am in Paris because I came here just to talk with Antoine Haguenauer. He's a French management and strategy consultant with a strong focus in technology and organizational models. He's also the author of Learning to Scale at the Theodo Groupe. This was published last year only. And well, he's a very well known. His CV is really long. He was advisor to the Bruno Le Maire, the current French minister. He's a philosophy teacher at the French Military Academy. He also works for an important thing, American Jewish Committee Paris and the Young Leaders Network of the young people in France. So, I mean, I can talk more than 30 minutes just talking about Antoine, but this is not the case. So I would like to say bienvenue, and let's start the show. Antoine, hello. And it's
Hello,
bonsoir
Roberto.
or bonne nuit.
Bonsoir, Roberto. Thank you very much for having me
Bonsoir.
today. I'm very pleased to have this conversation with you.
Well, thank you very much. And this time, and because you're in France, I would say that today is kind of in the center of the attention of many Jewish people, just because of political change and what's going on. We are finishing the Olympics, so it was kind of a vacation time for all the politicians and what's going on, but still they were working. So I would like if we can cover how's the political situation in France. We are at this time of the year, almost half of the year, and following the recent legislative elections. And what is the government? What's going with the government? And let's go and discuss about this one, because when you watch the news and the social media, it's either the left or you go to the right. And I don't think that it's not only that. So you will be able to open the scope. So let's go on there.
Okay. Well, let's go. Before going there, let's go back a little bit to understand why there was an election, which was a surprise to everybody in France, literally everybody, because the House of Parliament, the French National Assembly, the lower house of Parliament, was elected 2 years ago only, and for 5 years. The president's party had what we call a relative majority, which means that they didn't have enough seats to have an actual majority, but they had enough to manage to find support from different sides of the aisle to pass bills. And that had been the case for the past 2 years. Following the European Parliament elections that were kind of a disaster for the center parties in France, and especially for the president's side, the president decided to dissolve the lower house and call for elections very quickly, with less than a month to campaign. His idea, at least that's what he said, was to provoke a shock and to clarify the political situation in France. Right now, the general feeling is that exactly the opposite has occurred. It is more uncertain than ever. And what the results can tell us is that there is no majority. We have more or less three sides: the far left, the far right, and a large center. A large center that has shrunk from the previous situation. A center in which the right-wing party is pretty much being forced to be a part of because they do not want to go far right and they have nothing in common with the far left. Whereas the center-left parties, or what remained of them, have made an alliance with the far left, and the left side alliance has come first in terms of results, with I think 190 something seats out of 577. But I think they're a little more than that, actually, 210 with everybody put together. But they don't have enough members of parliament to form a government naturally. At least they don't have enough to form a government that will be able to pass any bills.
Antoine, this is the situation that if we look to the future and they're going to pass or they will try to pass any law, you will not have neither the majority from the left from the right. Well, the center is not existing now, so it will be kind of a very difficult time to do and to pass bills in France for the next whatever 4 or 5 years.
Well, theoretically 5 years, but there's a presidential election in 2 years now. 3 years, sorry. In 3 years, at least it is set in 3 years, and for a minimum of 1 year, because the assembly that has just been elected cannot be broken down, cannot be dissolved before June of 2025. So at least until June of 2025, that's the current situation. And so no pre-election alliance has the ability to form a government as is to pass bills. The only way for a government to be able to actually govern, actually pass bills, is to form a post-elections alliance. German parties do that usually, for instance. Italian parties do that sometimes, for instance. In France, our system was designed more or less 70 years ago to avoid that.
Okay, so and how is the solution for this puzzle? Because if you don't have if it's not the way that it's Germany nor Italy, how will you do it in France?
Well, the different possibilities are maintaining a deadlock until June of 2025, or radically changing the culture of everybody in national politics.
And what do you think it will be, option 1 or option 2, that we will be looking in the future?
I honestly have no idea. And I think very few people have a clear idea of what is going on, because what we're seeing right now is principial differences in principles rather than differences in actual projects.
Okay, so they're looking. You think about this one A, and I because I am on the other side, I think Y, and between A and Y or Z, it's a big difference. So nothing will happen.
There seems to be a lot of personal anger towards the president around all the country, but especially within the political sphere, especially within parties that have not been the president's or his allies. And it seems unlikely doesn't mean impossible, but unlikely for these people to be able to betray what they've stood for all their lives and what they've been elected for and what they've been elected against at the moment. So the only real possibility for a government to be formed is without the president's say in it. At least he should disappear behind a stronger prime minister. And nobody in France right now believes that President Macron is able to do that.
Sure.
It has been doing the opposite since day one, and he still is doing the opposite.
And people is getting more anger because of that?
The situation before the Olympics was extremely tense. The Olympics were a very welcome pause in those kinds of discussions.
You know, this is live. So in Paris, I need to answer the phone, but I will not do it today.
No worries.
Okay,
I didn't even hear it.
It's okay.
So the situation before the Olympics was extremely tense. The Olympics was came at a very good time. The month of August in France is a month of vacations. This week, very few people work. Next week still, and activity will come back on the week after next one. The ambition that the president has put forward is to form a new government by then.
Okay.
But it's still extremely uncertain on how and who will compose it. Right this afternoon, the current prime minister made an offer to other parties to govern together on the basis of a few ideas that he believes that people can come together around. There's one deadline. It's the vote of the budget, which is a procedure that begins early September and that has to end before the 31st of December.
Okay. Okay. And let me put another ingredient to this blend. So this is getting kind of complicated. It will be a tough omelette here in France, especially. And the other ingredient is, where are the Jews in all this? So let's put this ingredient, because you have this political situation, you have the European Parliament. I mean, it's kind of it's a mix. We are mixed in this kitchen. So let's add this another ingredient. Where are the Jews?
Where are the Jews? Good question.
Yeah, I would like if we can talk about where the rights are looking at the Jewish community. Where is the left side looking at the Jewish community? Because I know the center always has been kind of the same. So the temperature there is okay. But on the two sides, temperature is not very good.
Well, this year's elections, plural, has been marked by two phenomena regarding French Jews. The French Jewish community, first, is about 500,000 people. It's 0.8% of the French population, and it's the third, I think, largest community in the world, the second outside of Israel. It's definitely the largest in Europe. French Jews have not had an easy year. The far left, La France Insoumise party, has made Jewish scapegoating anti-Israel their platform. It's very clear and it's very very affirmative. They are almost openly pro-Hamas.
Nice people.
Almost, which means that they
almost nice people. Almost.
In every way, but saying out loud. But they invite known terrorists to their events. They have made they have made it a habit to target French Jews and have run their European elections platform solely on an anti-Israel stance, and had a Palestinian person as their front runner and elected as a member of the European Parliament.
And how, if we at the Muslim community, which is in France, is also very large, they have a large community there. How is this Muslim community related to the left side of the political situation in France?
So in France, there's no ethnic data, no religious data, especially regarding elections. But there is there are a few phenomena that are clear. First, you can't talk about a general Muslim vote, as the same way you can't talk about a general Jewish vote. However, there are geographical areas where a lot of recent immigrants or families of second or fourth generation Muslim immigrants live that have massively voted for left-wing parties, especially La France Insoumise. So in a way, their gamble to betray their secular communist views, anti-religious views, and become friends to radical Islamists seems to be working pretty well in different places in France. The second thing I wanted to talk about was that the Socialist Party, so the center left in France, has made an alliance with these people and have been attacked for it. And their only answer, their stance, is to say that anybody who attacks them are fascists, basically. And that. The third thing, which seems important regarding the French Jews, is that historically they have been very far away from the far right party. But for the first time, a lot of French Jews have said that they would and that they had voted for the Rassemblement National Party, the French far-right party, which was historically founded on anti-Semitism, but has made, for the past 15 years, a lot of work to try and erase that past, erase those memories, and present themselves as respectable, and especially respectable towards the Jews. What we saw in this election is that the storefront is clean, but that the
backstage
back of the store is not. Out of the 500 participants, candidates for Rassemblement National, almost 100 or 150 of them, approximately, had in the recent past said or done things that can be deemed anti-Semitic, homophobic, racist, etc., etc. But especially anti-Semitic.
The youth, the Access, because you are a member of the Access group from American Jewish community there. What do they think about what's happening in France? Because younger generations may have another view and another perspective, even though the situation is not very good, but they see things that people which is older is not looking at the same things, because the older generations are, we were get used to this one and we were used to that one, and things have changed. So, I mean, rather, or I stay here, but I stay at home, or I move away from France. But young generations may think in a different way.
I can only speak for myself and
Yes.
What I've seen and the conversations I've had. The elder generations that I'm in contact with have more hope than the younger ones. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of misunderstandings, and there's a lot of disappointment, especially regarding the left and the non-radical left, and the in a way the interpretation is that they have sold the Jews' fate for a few constituencies. I don't think I know a Jewish person of my generation who hasn't thought, who isn't thinking about going away.
Is that right?
It doesn't mean that everybody is doing it, and there's of course different levels of taking that thought seriously. But I think I've had the conversation with almost every Jewish person of my generation I know. Now, the second question is where to go, and where is it better? Are we not? The third question is, are we not overreacting? I don't have answers to those questions.
No?
And I don't know anybody who does, frankly. There is a question about the impact of social media and the bubbles we're in, and the fact that there's a definite strategy from a few people with very active social media presence targeting us as Jews, as Zionists, that create a form of harassment, that create an atmosphere of anti-Semitism. What we also see is that when asked, well, Israel is still more popular than there's a majority of people who are pro-Israel in France. There's a majority of people who understand what's going on when asked. There's a majority of people who are not anti-Semites, hopefully. But we also see that anti-Semitism is on the rise because actions are decuplating. I think I don't have the numbers in mind, but I think 1,000% rise last year, so in 2023 from 2022. And this year, there's another massive rise on this in the first semester. So there's definitely a rise in anti-Semitic actions right now in France, and there's definitely a loss of shame in the anti-Semitic sentiment from a larger proportion of the population. AJC published a few months ago a study where 9% of the French people said that violence was justified against Jews because they're Jews. 9%. 9% is huge.
I mean, it's almost 1/10 of people living in a country that says, yeah, you can kill a Jew because he's a Jew.
I don't know if everybody thinks they can kill me, but violence is justified. Not only aggression, not only verbal aggression, but also physical aggression is acceptable towards Jews. And well, it's again, France is a 68 million 68 million people country. So that's nearly, I have to do the math again, 7 times 9,
7 million. Around 7 million people justified violence against Jews.
Yes.
So if you compare that number in any country, I mean, it's and if let's say if you come to Chile, we are only 20 million. So if you put that number here, I mean, I will not be walking in the streets because 7 people believe that, I mean, we can do whatever because you are a Jew.
And again, it's you have I can see the Eiffel Tower from where you are.
Yes.
In that neighborhood, I think the proportion would be much less. It'd be abysmal. It is very. I think it is very localized geographically. It is probably also kinds of people, parts of the population that can be identified. But it also brings us, I think, to an important question. I think the situation of the Jews in France has a lot to do with the general situation of France.
Yes.
France is a republic, has been a republic for 150 years, 200 and something if you count the period in between the return of kings and empires and everything. But the very important idea at the heart of the French Republic throughout the years and ever since the French Revolution was that the French people is one, and that this unity of the nation is based on the will to live together. Wherever you come from, whatever you believe, whatever the color of your skin, whatever your religion, you can be French, and we are one people as long as we fight for it. And that fight is...
Excuse me, do you think that French sentiment will come back? Because from your words and from what you can see when you're outside of France, is that also being in France, is that now you have kind of three different French people. Do you think that you as a French and others will be able to sit down and say, yeah, now we need to talk and we need to be, and again, only one French?
Well, it's very uncertain. Again, I think the key word in my previous sentence was fight. We need to fight for it. And the Olympics again was 2 weeks in a lifetime, but gave the impression that at times it could happen, and that people could unite between a common cause. And I think that's the whole point behind the Olympics and such events. If you had asked me 3 weeks ago how that was going to go, it would not have been my first bet. So in other words, you never know how things are going to go. However, I'm pretty sure it won't be easy and that we're headed for troubled times.
Yeah, it won't be easy. But maybe the solution is that we need to bring the Winter Olympics again. We need to do a football, worldwide championship over there. So you will be 2 weeks of work, then you go fun, then you go 2 weeks of work, fun, and then you will find the solution for France. I mean, I'm kidding because it's good to hear that in those 2 weeks you were able maybe to think about that one, and I have the hope and realistic. Do have the hope that you will be able to sit down and talk. I don't see French people that will be one side on the other side. And it was good to have this kind of vacation in between the Olympics. And people will come back from their vacation, from their summer vacation, and they will see that it's an opportunity to have a change, because it's not black or white. There is a lot of gray scale in between black and white, and you will be able to do it. And that will also help the Jewish community, especially to see where you guys are in France. Because
Yes.
it's a big, big community, and I don't see Jewish people leaving France just because of this past election. And maybe there will be kind of a stone in the road, and you will have another future, let's say, beginning September.
Yes. Well, I sure hope so too. The break that you just evoked is also echoes to another break. We had a very active partisan politics year, and we took a break from that since the beginning of the Olympics, and it was good. And I think a lot of people, and including myself, enjoyed it. So my short-term wish is that we have a longer break from partisan politics, and that maybe even the current period of a deadlock and a kind of a stalemate government goes on for a while, because it also means that it protects us from conflict and shows us that there are other places to discuss and take decisions and make choices, especially on a local level, which is, like everything, overdeveloped in France, but very much dwarfed by the national politics. If we can go back to that, to more local discussions, more local decisions, more concrete debates, I think we have a way of building a future for ourselves.
You'll do it. It's almost the time to say bye. But before we say bye, did you know that we are in YouTube? We are also in Spotify. So you need to invite your friends in France and your friends also to listen to Spotify. So we have those two channels in where they can enjoy this really nice spot that we had today. It was a really good talk with Antoine. And guys, also one coffee of Cabana, un café con Cabana. It's sponsored by the German Jewish Museum in Santiago. So we are great pushing Jewish traditions around the world. So thank you very much, Antoine, and see you in another place. I'm going to fly to another place because there are many people to talk with around the world and very interesting people. So Antoine, thank you very much, and I know you will go over and you will have one Republic.
Thank you very much, Roberto. Thank you everyone for listening, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, and bye-bye, guys.